Ferrari seems to be seeking for more performance ahead of the Hungarian GP, and a huge boost will come in the form of an upgrade package that is supposed to fix the porpoising issues that appeared in Spain and was further even more active in Silverstone. However, with the Maranello team bringing both of the specifications of its 2024 car, could we see some changes in the performance of the car given the nature of the track in Hungary? And more precisely, will the hot weather play a role as to where Ferrari ends up in the pecking order? Ferrari found themselves in the middle of nowhere with the latest upgrades that poisoned the performance of the car, because even though they added more downforce to it thanks to the new version of the floor, they also triggered the porpoising phenomenon. This couldn't be solved for Silverstone, and now the team has Hungary and Spa before the summer break in order to figure out where they are currently standing with the SF24 and whether or not they could compete with McLaren and Mercedes and then Red Bull. Even though the Austrian team dropped the ball massively in Austria and Silverstone, Ferrari weren't there to capitalize and to make the Drivers' Championship even more interesting. But the team is now hoping that Hungary will present a different and more convenient challenge for them. Be that as it may, Ferrari is now bringing upgrades to Budapest in order to improve the trend of adding performance and not connect it with the porpoising in any way whatsoever. And the way that they plan to do so is to bring both of the cars that have been built in 2024, one that stopped its development in Spain and the other one much earlier in the season, to Imola. The reason for this is that when the SF24 isn't suffering from porpoising, the engineers can see increased downforce with the new package, especially in the low-speed corners. There aren't that many slow-speed corners in Hungary apart from turn 1, 2 and the last couple of corners in the race. However, they are vital for the car to carry as much speed as possible, especially in the last combination of corners, because it then launches the car on the main straight, a place where Ferrari should excel this weekend. Therefore, with the nature of the track not producing much porpoising in the past couple of years due to the speed that the corners are requiring to be entered with, Ferrari is planning to use the Spain spec upgrades, but just in case they get something wrong in the simulator yet again, the Imola spec car will still be there waiting to be mounted before the Parc Fermé hits, and the team could change the parts without suffering penalties. Obviously, there are multiple ways with which the team could get rid of the porpoising, and one of them is lifting the ride height of the SF24, which might be the best solution given the dominance that Ferrari has on these types of circuits. However, that directly lowers the generated downforce of the car, and now that they need it the most on low-speed circuits like Hungary, the Maranello team should understand how to find the perfect solution for the bouncing without sacrificing performance of the car. Adding to this matter, Vasseur went on to say, "There are different solutions for bouncing. Some make you lose performance, others don't, and we want to direct ourselves on the second path, but it takes time. Until then, we will have to use this package to the maximum possible. We changed all the aero parts and the bouncing appeared in Spain. We will have the next race with the current car, and the sooner the better we will bring upgrades that have less bouncing. The correlation is okay. The correlation and the downforce is okay, but it is still a question mark for everybody, and sometimes the bouncing is popping up like this. It is quite difficult to have a correlation because you don't have bouncing in the wind tunnel." These issues are appearing in a period where Mercedes were able to fix them quite quickly and are now competing for race wins all of a sudden, putting Ferrari in 4th place when it comes to having the fastest package on the grid. These places are easily shiftable, and we've seen how Mercedes has been able to lock the front row in Silverstone and potentially even finish in a 1-2 fashion had it not been for the weather conditions, something that Sainz fears won't be possible for Ferrari until the new regulations kick in if the porpoising doesn't disappear until Spa. Elaborating on this content to a greater extent, the 3-time race winner said, "We will definitely bounce in turns 4 and 11 in Hungary, but until something better comes, we may have to live with bouncing for a while. On high-speed tracks, we might have to run the floor of the older package because if not, the other one is undrivable. I trust the team will make the right calls circuit to circuit until a more solid package, which is not bouncing at high speed and is good at low speed arrives, and then we will start thinking about battling the top 3 teams again." After all, the narrowness of the circuit and the low-speed nature of Hungary are things that should suit Ferrari much more than the previous circuits in Austria, Silverstone and Spain, especially with the last two being extremely fast venues with high-speed corners that added so much instability to the car. Be that as it may, Ferrari won't face yet another important issue that they faced in the previous races, and that is the long corners. The team lost so much time here due to overcautiously entering these types of corners, because if they had done it with more speed or accelerated a bit earlier, the car would have been sent on the other side of the track. The issue is very unlikely to be present in Hungary due to the nature of the track itself. While many are quick to bash Ferrari for their failed strategy in Silverstone, as well as putting Leclerc on the intermediate tyre way too early for his liking, a mistake that even Red Bull made with Perez, the team gathered a lot of data for their car, and for the majority of the race, the Spain spec upgrades that Leclerc drove on were a lot faster than the ones Sainz did with the Imola spec car he had for the weekend. But what is a huge minus is that Leclerc lost a lot of time in crucial parts of the circuit, such as the Copse, Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel sections, which are all high-speed corners, with some of them being taken flat out. If we are to compare the data from these circuits, we would notice that the slow-speed sections, as well as the medium ones, are the parts where the SF24 excels with its SF24 upgrades. But what we must not forget is that Hungary has one very long main straight that offers brilliant opportunity for overtaking, so having advantage here is crucial for the rest of the lap, because other than here, the track itself doesn't provide a lot of ground for clean overtaking, with the next opportunity being between turn 1 and 2. This is why it's heavily important for Ferrari to get rid of the bouncing here in Hungary, because if they don't, then it's definitely going to be a technical concern because of how it appears on tracks where it shouldn't appear. Even though Hungaroring is far away from Monaco in terms of average speed, the nature of the corners does have some sort of similarity, and all of that has the potential to put the SF24 at the top of the podium yet again, considering that the RB20's issue with the curbs and the bumpy circuits is still present, as the Austrian team had to give up a bit of performance in order to fix this instability, which is more or less an advantage for the other teams. A great concern for Ferrari is that teams like Mercedes and McLaren have not only caught up to them, but are now looking like the ones that have the most stable package out of all the teams on the grid, especially the MCL38. Even if you were to compare the stability of the Woking-based squad to the RB20, you'd notice that Red Bull has a lot of issues maintaining a perfect functioning car in different types of circuits, whereas McLaren has done that without any significant issue, and now Mercedes has joined them in the fight too. This puts Ferrari under a lot of pressure, and even though they have two competitive drivers who are the only duo apart from Verstappen and Leclerc to have scored a 1-2 finish in the 2024 season, the Australian GP seems so far away, and the team is now on the verge of either making the greatest comeback after the mini slump they've had, or just slowly degrading to the midfield of the grid. With all this in mind, do you think Ferrari will be able to fix their issues in Hungary? And more importantly, do you think that the team has what it takes to fight for race wins yet again in 2024? Let us know in the comments below.